Hello everybody, thank you very much for joining me today for another Twilight Zone video in my Twilight Zone ranking series, where I rank every episode of the original Twilight Zone from my least favorite to my favorite. Today I'm going to be talking about number 99, The 30-Fathom Grave, written by Rod Serling and directed by Perry Lafferty. This is a season 4 hour-long episode of the Twilight Zone, and as always there will be episode spoilers. So 30-Fathom Grave is kind of a ghost story episode, and it's pretty interesting overall, I would say. So this one's about a Navy ship that hears a strange sound picked up on sonar, and they find out it's coming from a sub that's been underwater a long time, since World War II, I believe. Meanwhile, one of the crew members, Chief Bell, starts not feeling well, and as the episode goes on, we find out he could be connected in some way to this submarine. So 30-Fathom Grave has some good things going for it. It is a creepy episode. It's got great atmosphere, and I actually really love the ship setting. I think it works very, very well. There's also some underwater footage in this episode, which I appreciated, something a bit different for Twilight Zone. One thing I really like about 30-Fathom Grave is how the two plots come together, the investigation of the sub, finding out the history of this Chief Bell, perhaps a little bit too slowly, which I'll get into more as the review goes on. But I appreciate having two storylines that kind of connect. This actually wasn't something Twilight Zone did that much, and I thought they did a pretty good job. Mike Kellen as Chief Bell does a good job. He gives a good performance. And Simon Oakland as Captain Beecham is also good. You might also recognize some other faces from the cast as well. There's definitely some familiar names here. The cinematography is really great in this episode, and as I already mentioned, I really like the underwater scenes as the mysterious sub is explored. The plot is a very slow burn type plot. Like I said, perhaps a bit too slow as we unravel what's happening. But what we find out is interesting. So as they continue to explore the sub, we find out that Bell was the only survivor during an attack. And he thinks the attack was his fault and got everyone else killed. And then as the episode goes on, he also claims that it's the rest of the crew of the sub calling for him, and that's why they're not at rest, basically. So a pretty interesting plot overall. So eventually we get to the end of the episode, and Bell loses it completely and jumps over the side of the ship, and he's a goner. And then we also get a report from the sub that there were the remains of sailors and that one of them had a hammer, which was the noise that the crew was hearing. Now, I thought this ending was genuinely effective and creepy. You just have to sit through a lot of repetition to get there. And this is where my one issue with this episode comes in. It is just simply too repetitive. And while the slow burn did work for me, even I had a few minutes where I was like, okay, come on, let's move on to the next thing. We get it. Like, as much as I liked the underwater scenes, I really did enjoy that part of the episode. They repeat them like 3 times, and that just seems like it was kind of being put in there because they needed to fill out an hour time slot. I think this episode is a half hour. Might have been an all-time great episode. But I do appreciate that they did something different with connecting the two plots. And overall, I did still think this was an effective slow burn episode. The ending is genuinely creepy, and that's why it's number 99 on the list. As always, feel free to leave me a comment on 30-Fathom Grave if you liked it or not. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching.